Well, hello, friends, family fans, guitar enthusiasts around the world. Today we are going to be restoring this in a maintenance fashion 1972 Univox guitar. It is absolutely beautiful. Just needs a little bit of love and a lot of wiping down. As you can see, the fretboard is very filthy and it's going to need some love all the way around. And here we have it. Let's slide right on in here and get things rolling. As you can see here, we have a tremolo that is seemingly broken, but may not be. Could be fixable. We shall take a closer look when we open it up to inspect it. But what a really cool system that is for the year that it was and or is. So let's dive right on in here, and we're gonna go ahead and take this bar here to see this metal rod to see just how straight the neck is. And the reason you use this is so your action can be very good. So your truss rod may need some adjustments. If it doesn't lay completely flat and there's gaps, say for instance at the bottom, that would mean that it's too tight. So you want to loosen up the truss rod that's within, which will allow the neck to move forward. So let's go ahead and take the bridge off. And we'll go ahead and get the bridge washer adjustments off, which is another fine way to raise and lower the bridge. I think was a very brilliant idea in its time. And let's go ahead and get this truss rod plate cover off. Sometimes they're in the bottom of the neck. In this particular case, it should be right here at the top. Let's go ahead and pop this off and take a good look. A lot of times it would be your Allen wrench to adjust them. Sometimes it's a nut. But in this case, I do believe it would be your Allen wrench that would make the adjustment. And indeed it is. As you see, someone has some previous marks in there to see where it was originally. Now our truss rod, let's go ahead and take a look. Or your tremolo bar, I'm sorry. Let's see what we gotta do to get that straightened out. Of course, first thing we want to do is pop these screws out right here. And that is a very dirty plate. As you can see, this guitar has been neglected when it comes to being polished and cleaned and or even maintained. It was very unplayable and the action was just god awful. So we're going to bring this thing to life. Let's take a look here at this tremolo. And what we had there is basically a loose bolt inside of there. And this tremolo actually tightens to the plate. As you can see, the threads are there and it tightens directly to the plate. So it just needs to be tightened back up into the plate and then wiped down, cleaned up, And there we are, getting the threads to go into the plate. A little stubborn, but we'll get her done. First, we got a lot of gunk and things that just need to go. So we'll get the elbow grease out and we will begin to clean it up a little bit. Clean the threads out a little there. Now this should be a little bit more easy to go in. Just twist it on in like so here. Being a little stubborn, but we'll get her in there. Hopefully the threads aren't stripped, but I don't think they are. I think it was just backed out. And interesting thing about this Tremolo is that once it's tight, it falls into position where it should be. So all you do is you lift it up, pull it forward, make the Tremolo action happen. As you can see here, I'll give you a demonstration. And hold it like this, and you see the movement. There's your movement. Very brilliant idea. And there it is. Now it just needs a major cleaning and a serious scrub down. I like to use this pledge. Pledge works really well, but sometimes you have to go a little harder. And they have that window cleaner foam that you can get at Walmart and different places. There's some gunk on the Tremolo itself. Just really filthy. And even the spray sometimes won't work. As you can see here, that's going to take a little bit more elbow grease. Sometimes it's good to get a straight edge of some sort and just gently rub back and forth. In a lot of cases, you can take around a Tremolo like this and just go all over, and it'll clean it up real nice. Looks like it has some permanent blemish, but some things you just can't clean. Some things need to be left alone, which you will call that patina. You don't want to try to remove patina in a lot of cases, because it actually brings value to it. Some people hate patina, some people love it. This guitar itself has a few nicks and dings in the body, but it is definitely a very solid piece. No cracks at the neck meeting the body. Very well put together guitar. Very solid wood in the neck and in the body. And here's this spray that I was telling you about. And it turns into a foam, and it really cuts through some ugly. And it's very inexpensive at your good old Walmarts that are pretty much worldwide, I would have to say, by now. And as you can see here, it is already beginning to clean it and make it a little bit more shiny. Now, once again, there will be pitting and old chrome and things like that. That, in my opinion, is a patina that's very nice. It brings out its indication of life, that it's been around, it's been used. It hasn't just sat in the case or hung on a wall forever. This guitar has been loved and played and jammed out for many years, I am very sure. And ultimately, what happens is the maintenance starts to get to be a little more than the average person can handle. Ultimately, a very undesirable guitar for comfort and playing purposes. When you have a neck that's not set properly, and you have a bridge, and your nut may be worn, your strings aren't going to set just right. So the objective is with this guitar today is to get the strings to set properly across the neck, to give you a very low action and a very quick response without all that buzzing and all that noise that it's producing now. Maybe not so much buzzing, but there's a little here, a little there, but ultimately the action is way off. So it is well worth the time invested. This particular guitar, being a 1972 Univox, Japanese-made style, which is considered the very, very, top of the line. Considering the fact they didn't make these in the U.S., these were Japanese, built and made from the designers in the U.S. They chose some of the top craftsmen and builders that they could find in of course, Japan, because Japan is very, very known for super high quality guitars, as the U.S. is as well. Korean, Indonesian, China, blah. Although once they get into the hands of the right luthier and one who knows how to do a little bit of customizing and bringing things to life, you can take some of those not Japanese, but Chinese, Korean, and Indonesian guitars, and believe it or not, make them pretty incredible, which we'll be showing you on the show with some custom builds that are going to be very fun and also for sale. This particular guitar runs that we're working on now here. I'm gonna clean this bridge. As you can see, this bridge was really filthy, and we could take it completely apart. Didn't necessarily need that. Sometimes it's good to keep it in position. My guess is that it needs a little bit of adjustment, but not a whole lot. So you want to get into the nooks and crannies, clean it up. But this particular guitar itself, being the Japanese-made Univox, is actually quite valuable. It runs anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 in its condition, just the way that it is. Anything in perfect and mint condition from this year can range anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. So these guitars are very sought after in mint condition. Now, not being in mint condition, again, they are not as valuable from what a lot of people would feel about things that have a little patina. But that patina, in my opinion, makes it more valuable in my eyes. I love a guitar that's been played and that's worn and broken in, and obviously has been used. If I had a choice of Willie Nelson's guitars, I wouldn't want one he just bought and just started strumming on. I would want the one that you could see clearly he has played and put a lot of love and music and heart into for many years. So that, in my opinion, would be the more valuable guitar. But again, this is in the eyes of the beholder. But in the industry, they figure that better the condition of the guitar, the more that's worth. But that just depends on whose hands it was in and who played it. and many more other factors. So like you see right here, we're using our Q-tip and we're getting in and out all the little nooks and crannies, cleaning everything up, which is very, very important because you want everything to be nice and smooth when you play it. You don't want no grime or anything gripping the finger. You want everything to be smooth and everything to sound and look as good as possible, especially being from 1972. I also would like to make mention that this guitar came from John's Crossing, the band John's Crossing. They have an album out that I was very happy to obtain with the guitar, called Sign of the Sun, which is a Christian band. So when you hear the word sun, that definitely represents Jesus Christ. So Sign of the Sun, John's Crossing. John's Crossing is the band, and John is the one who sold me this guitar, and I'm very, very honored to be able to clean it up and do what we're doing here, get all the filth and grime off of it, and bring it to life. It is totally worth it on many, many, many different levels. This neck, as you can see, is absolutely filthy. The frets need to be stoned down, and the fretboard needs to be polished out. As you can see, the grime is absolutely everywhere, all down it, and yuck. No fun to play a neck that is in that condition. So here we are, getting ready to get another look. Since the strings are off and she's cleaned up, it's time to focus on the neck. Now let's go ahead and take a look once more at the adjustments that may need to be made here, which we do know. Now that the strings are off, to see if it's still the same or any different. Sometimes it'll be a little looser and the neck will expand backward. But in this case, it looks like there wasn't much pressure on it, and it certainly will need these adjustments. So let's dive right on in and get things going and get this neck brought back to life. So what we want to do is we want to find the perfect Allen wrench, and this one won't do it. And we want to get in there and do it just right. So now we want to double check one more time, across, not just the middle, just to be sure. And it's a back and forth thing when you adjust it. So you want to check it once, take a look at what you have. If there's a gap on one end or the other, a lot of times the neck will need to be loosened. If there is a bow in the middle, like if there's a gap in the middle, then it would need to be tightened. So just remember, left to loosen, right to tighten. So we loosen it a little bit. Try to bring that neck forward some, because it sets back just a bit too far, which ultimately would leaves the bridge having to be brought up too high. And it looks like that we're moving in the right direction here. Perfect. All right, time to clean this bad boy up the rest of the way. Every little nook and cranny. Let's go. Headstock, 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 headstock. Every little piece, every little thing. Do the body, do the body, do the body, and gotta get every little thing, every little thing, every little thing, every little thing. Get every little thing. Get this knob, get that knob, get that knob, get every little thing. Get the headstock, 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 headstock. Get around, get around, get around every little teeny little thing, including all. There we go. There we have it. Look at that. Boy, I wish it was that easy. So anyway, here is our stones that are super smooth, and we are going to go ahead now and get those frets smoothed out a little bit. And we're not going to do a lot of sanding on them, but we're going to do just enough to knock off the pitting and create a nice smooth surface. Now I don't mean pitting from age, I mean pitting from playing the guitar. A lot of people will bend notes in certain areas and create little depth holes where it's just a little deeper. So when you do this, it has to be very smooth and not flat. You actually have to rock your hand back and forth in a rounded fashion, so that way you're not doing damage to the fretboard. And as you can see there, we're doing the rocking fashion here. That other one needed to be cleaned up a little bit. That's why I worked on it a little more. But each one has a little rocking fashion going on there to knock things off and to keep things good and smooth. Now these stones here are unbelievably smooth, so you can use these kinds. Some people will use just sandpaper, but they have all kind of different tools to do this. I prefer stone. It is the old school way, and I think it works the best because you can kind of go in many different angles. So anyway, yes, this is why we're doing this that you see now. This makes it 1,000 times better to play as well. So when you're bending your string, it just glides right over the fret and across the fret. And it is very, very important to take your time and do each one nice and easy, concentrated, because you do really want to take your time on your frets, because I mean this is where all the playability happens, is where all the bending and pulling and tapping and everything happens, and where all the action is. Not knocking the right hand or the strumming or the plucking hand, because all good rounded musicians know that it is good to have both hands in the action. Every little bit matters when it comes down to taking your time. So once again, I want to let everybody know to take your time. And here we have a close-up that gives you an idea what they looked like before down below and what they look like on the top there now. I apologize about the focus on this camera. It's not the best, but as you can see, the stone is rocking back and forth as we're going across, and there is some work that needs to be done on these, but you don't want to go overdo it, because you really want to just smooth out what you can, because it's sort of like the patina, except the frets are a little different. Some people spend very big dollars to have the frets done this way. And of course you come down the edges very, very lightly to knock off any kind of rough edges, if any. This guitar really didn't have much, so you just gently want to come across the edges and try not to touch the wood at all, unless of course it's calling for it for some reason. In this particular, on this particular neck, it is not calling for it. Just want to make sure that you don't have any edges in any way, which it didn't have much. But when you come across it, when you come across your frets, reconditioning them like we just did, it is always good to knock down any edge that may have been created during that process. And there it is. And at this point, it's good to just knock off any of the ugly. Some people like to use a little air. I'm working inside the home, so we try to keep the dust down. So you just kind of knock off the dust and all the ugly. So as you can see, there is a lot of ugly that has already come off of this neck in the cleaning process. But this isn't just the beginning of the cleaning. There's a lot more work and elbow grease that has to go into this neck. And let me show you what we do. Here's the steps we're going to take. We get our old handy dandy toothbrush, as you can see. And it doesn't have to be an Oral-B like this one, but it is important to have it. Alright, let's bring you some close-up action here. And of course, there's the old handy dandy toothbrush, and as you can see, the neck is ready for some more cleaning. Yes, we've cleaned it once. We've leveled out the frets, and here we are on another cleaning process again. Now, this is your pledge. You don't be afraid to put a lot of it on, and you want to take your fingers like you see here and just kind of massage it in. Another thing some people like to do is actually use toothbrush in the mix, toothpaste, a little bit of toothpaste in the mix of all of this while it's happening. I don't do that. Sometimes it depends on the filth. And as you can see, we do a back and forth movement here close to the pickup. And we start to get our round and round. So that way you're getting into the edge where the wood and the metal meet. So it's not just back and forth, it's round and round. The reason for that is because it really hits and butts up against the fretboard and the metal fret itself, getting a lot of the real serious gunk out of there where it really matters a lot. Now that we have the gunk out, this is where a lot of elbow grease comes in, because you're gonna want to do each of the frets, as you see, the wood itself, and as close as you can get to the actual fret itself. So you've got the fretboard and you got the frets, and as you can see, the filth that's coming off is incredible. The person who owned this may have been a smoker. That's why it's a lot of yellow coming off of it. The home that it was in could have had a lot of smoking. Which is another reason why you may see a lot of yellow coming off, but it is definitely very, 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 very yucky. And let's speed this process up here, and here we go. Anyway, as you can see, I've got my thumbnail as close as I can get it on the left of each one of these right now. We're going down the left very, very closely, kind of rubbing it out, getting the filth out of that edge next to it. And then you want to come back the opposite way. Once you get down to the very end, as you can see down here, you want to come back the opposite way, doing the opposite side of each of the pieces of fret. So you really want to get next to that fret as close as you can to get all that gunk out of there, because it's just years and years of just funk and junk. So you want to get all that out of there, because number one, it's gross. Number two, it'll look a whole lot better. So you come on across like this, and then once you get it done to that point, you want to come back around and buff it out flat. You want to do the whole surface at that point. So it is definitely a lot of elbow grease you see going on here. I've sped things up, but this not only gets the rest of the gunk, but gives that final polish to the wood that it needs for that smoothness, that smooth look, the shine, As you can see with this rag, it is really taking a lot of gunk and a lot of grime off of this neck, which is very, very important to the maintenance and the restore, because some people call this maintenance. I call this restore maintenance, restore, because maintenance is one thing, but restoring is another in terms of the level you have to take it to. So, you know, you want to go through each and every single one and, of course, buff it out flat, as you can see that we're doing here. So yeah, we want to speed it up as quickly as possible. As you can see, the rag is unbelievably filthy, and we'll give it a good, strong, heavy buffing with the palm of our hand, right? You know, with it, and then of course, buff everything else out. And then, of course, invite in your Great Dane. How you doing there, Kai? Take a look-see. And give you a general idea how everything looks now that it's been cleaned up, buffed out, and polished. As you can see, there is a glimmer and a glow to the wood here. You can actually see the grain now. And everything is ready. I mean, this guitar now is ready to be put back together. And ultimately jammed out on, which we'll do here in a few minutes once we restring it, get it set up. I hope you guys have enjoyed the breakdown of everything. You know, as you can see, there is some patina, there's scratches, there's scuffs, there's nicks, there's dings, but you know what, there's no cracks in the body, there's no cracks in the neck, which is just a very, very, very solid grained piece of work that will last a very, very long time in the right hand. So here we go. We're throwing together, putting back on our truss rod plate cover, and let's go ahead and get that put on now, and get ready to get some strings put on her. I'm very, very excited. Yay! And here we are, going ahead and throwing on our bridge adjustment washers if you're from Boston, but down south they'd be called washers. We got them washers on there, and give them a good little twist. And of course, those need to be adjusted just right once the strings are, you know, in position and going on. It's always good to try to get the bridge adjusted on the E string right away. When that first E string you put on, generally the lowest is the smartest way to go. Of course, go ahead and put this bridge into position, and get ready for some good stuff. That bridge has rollers, which is even cooler, for the strings to rest upon, and they are three-way rollers, so you have three different positions for the strings, high, low, if you want, depending on what you want to do. And of course, here we'll go ahead and get the tremolo system put into position, and we'll go ahead and speed up the action. We do a little bitty hill. So yes, it's always good to enjoy your work. I love doing what I do and have a blast doing it. Alrighty, now for the fun part. Here comes the strings. So these here are 9s. I probably should have went with 10s on this guitar. Now I'm feeling a little bit, but 9s will work just as well. I like super heavy gauge strings, but these older guitars, I like to, you know, when I restore them and bring them back to life, or, you know, do this type of maintenance, I like to start off lightly, see what, you know, what the string will do with the neck, how the body and all of it reacts. And I think everything went really, really well. And it's real important to use the right string for yourself. I mean, there's many different kinds out there. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about things. I think for acoustic guitars, elixirs are great. The nano web, are fantastic. You know, electric guitars, Ernie Ball Super Slinkies are fantastic. You can bend them all day and you can stretch them. Now, stretching your strings is real important when you're installing your strings. So I would fly right through this, but I want to take a hot minute here and explain to you that the stretching process. So, you know, you can get your E put on and you go, okay, I got it tuned up, but you want to stretch the string from the fretboard. And I will show you this here in a moment as we go. You know, like I said, I like to speed through a lot of the stuff that's not necessary, but I think that it's really important for you to know. The first and most important part of, you know, this process, and of course, you know, you get your E string out, as you can see here, we are doing, and running it through the back side of the bridge. Get that on in position and bring it on up to the top. Now, as you can see, you have your first peg right there, and I like to count 2 up. As you can see here, we got it in position. Let me go ahead and grab this here and get that out of the way so I can slide the guitar over more into that corner. And as you take a look here, I'm going to count right here, right off here. There's 1, okay, 2. So you got 1, 2. You want to go up to the second one, and that's where you want to make your cut. You know, 2, basically, you know, 2 pegs above where you're getting ready to cut. So you have just the right amount of room. Now, I like to put it in, and then I like to turn it so it goes around once at the top above, and then when it comes back around, overlap what I already once did going downward. So that's what we'll do with this one. We'll go ahead and wrap it around once at the top, so it wraps around the top once and it goes past the point where it's sticking out, and then of course, let's see if we can show you this a little bit better. Probably not. So let me finish explaining. Go ahead around and wrap it around once, then wrap it around overlapping itself, and then wrap it around towards the bottom. And then of course what you have is your string installed. Now you at this point want to start tuning that and then stretching it. Basically just lifting it off the fretboard, giving it a good pull and yank, because what's happening is you are tightening everything up at where it meets at the key and the peg at the top. So, you know, your tuning peg holder, your string holder, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to wrap around and tighten. So when you pull it, tune it again, pull it, tune it again, pull it, tune it again, and then you repeat this process sometimes 10-15 times as you're going through each of the strings. And what happens is when you go to play the guitar and you hit the tremolo or you bend strings, it'll stay in tune a whole lot better. And overlapping your string from the top to bottom when you're wrapping it allows it to lock into position, locks itself into position, and does not allow for that issue to transpire based around strings loosening because there is no overlap. Very important to remember, people. All right, now we've got 4 strings strung up right now, and you know, we've tuned them and stretched them. But most importantly, with this type of setup, you want the 2 outer strings to be not hooked. If you see this type of setup, even sometimes on wheels, it's always the 4 strings in the center you want to hook up and look like this right here. And here she is, all strung up and getting our last string into position. All right, now as you can see, I'm yanking that string. Let me go ahead and put this over here and give you an idea of the right way to tune. You know, I like to use the phone. You can get little tuners, you know, from your phone. And they've got all kind of different apps and things like that. But as you can see, I'm tuning everything up, and see me giving, you know, you'll see me stretching it right there. I'm pulling it up real hard, you know, very, very hard, and tuning it. And basically what I'll do is come back around and do the same thing for all the strings. I'm stretching this one. Give that one a real good stretch. Okay, even though I just tuned it, because that's tightening everything up. And once I have that one in tune and stretched out a few times, because that's really, really important, 3 or 4 times, you want to start over. Tune it all up again. Because you got to remember, I've already stretched these strings out 7 to 10 times as I was going. Stretching, tuning, stretching, tuning, stretching, tuning. And again, that is what you want. So you have, you know, a very conditioned string, fully prepared to be played and not going out of tune. For instance, if you were to have a guitar like this and you're getting ready to use it on stage and a string breaks, you know, it's the same process. Stretch it a couple times if you can, time wise, but a lot of times you'll have backup guitars anyway. So just a little insight as to the proper way to do this. And this guitar is just about ready to rock and roll. So in just a moment, we'll be jamming out, and we'll do a little blues riff pattern with her, and that'll be kind of fun. And this guitar is done. Let's take a look at her. Oh boy, there it is, all cleaned up. No gunk, no junk, no mess. Look at that neck. Oh goodness gracious. Look at it gleam. It's ready, it's ready, it's ready. Isn't that exciting? Now, for all of you who have not seen a Univox, you know, this is a big deal. An extraordinary guitar. So, this guitar is very unique. So, enjoy. And, it's been an honor to open her up and clean her up and bring her to where she is now, and to make her something enjoyable to play for many years to come. You guys rock. Remember, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to be notified. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to comment. Share with a friend. Hit that like button too. Because all that stuff matters. I hope you guys have enjoyed your time with me, and keep an eye out. We've got a lot of really great things, great musicians, and great stuff to come.